Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Ria. I'm going to be interviewing a very special guest. I'm so glad he's here today, and I'm really excited because I get a chance to introduce someone super special. Our guest has accomplished so much in real estate in such a short time, and that's why so many people have been curious, asking questions, wanting to know how he did it, and eager to hear his story straight from him. It's not every day that we get a chance to chat with someone whose journey is so inspiring and whose hard work and dedication really show what's possible in this business. So let's jump right in. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest speaker today. We have Realtor Terrence Howard.
Yes, well, thank you for the intro and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, yes, I will start with the basic question, Realtor Terrence.
Sure.
What brought you to real estate?
Well, that's a good question. Um, I was involved with real estate. I was, working as a licensed practitioner in the medical field, and I did real estate on the side, investing here and there, and I knew real estate would be my end game, so to speak. But as far as what actually got me licensed as an agent, my wife has been bugging me. She's watching HGTV like every day, and she's been bugging me about getting my license. And I know it's like a hustle. I'm like, man, do I really want to do that? From taking the 2 years of the grind that it's going to take in order just to get your business up and running. Do I really want to do that? So I've worked with various agents, and I didn't know the ins and outs of their business. I really didn't. I was just under the impression that the broker, really dominated, whatever income or revenue stream that came about that. So I never asked any questions about it, never looked it up, never did any of that. Didn't have a reason to. So my experience with real estate agents, it just wasn't good. It just wasn't good. So I had an incident with a real estate agent where, in other words, I was providing instructions as far as what I needed to happen. He didn't do it. He was just doing the opposite. And I just looked at my wife. I'm like, I had it. I'm gonna just get my license so I don't have to depend on a real estate agent. And so the very same night, I went in and signed up for the coursework or what have you. And the coursework came and probably to end on a note, I went through the studies and I didn't know as far as how an agent was compensated. I had no idea. So I learned that and I said to myself, I can make a difference in the industry as far as me being an independent contractor or what have you, and then be able to get compensated for it as well. So that's how I end up with, becoming a licensed agent. So I appreciate the question, by the way.
All right, you're welcome. Well, moving along, what
Sure.
separates you from the average agent?
Well, all res- all due respect to all, I just got confidence in myself. I know my past history, past military. I got a doctor's degree, things of that nature. And, it was all about, serving the client, customer service, just all of those aspects. And, and as far as what separates me, I'm going to give 110% working with the client's best interests. And the big kicker is I'm going to continuously provide information where I'm representing the seller or the buyer to them so they can make the best decision. So with that information, they're informed. So they're able to take that information and make a common sense decision from that. So that what separates me because sadly to say, most agents, the vast majority of agents, they don't do that. They just, um, they're just there to serve a purpose or to facilitate the process. So they don't take on the responsibility of being an expert in real estate and being able to advise versus just being there and just be able to answer any incoming questions, things of that nature. So with me, from the jump, I'm providing needed information that most sellers and buyers don't know. They like, oh wow, I didn't know that. So they're very excited about working with me from that standpoint because they would like, this guy is providing us with this amazing information. I didn't know that. So those are changes with the information provided. It's game changers for people. So yeah, that's what separates me from the average agent. Again, I appreciate the question.
Sure. And also, well, Realtor Terrence, we are dying to know.
Yeah.
Have you always worn suits, or is this your signature look?
I get this question often, but believe it or not, I dress like this since high school. I can remember we talking about in the '90s, going to school in suit shirts, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, I dress like this high school. How did it get started? For right now, I can give various reasons why I dress the way I do, but to boil it out, how it got started, really, my brother is 10 years older than me. And I coming up, I didn't spend too much time with him due to various reasons, but I can remember him being at our mother's home and, the home that we grew up in. And, he was walking out the door and, he had black slacks on and this nice silk shirt. And I was like, man, that's a fly shirt. I was like 10 or 11 years old at the time. And he looked at me. He didn't even smile. He looked at me with a serious look. And he was like, I want to be doing something on an everyday basis where I'm wearing a suit. I know it seems like kind of like really that's why you dress the way you do, because your older brother said he want to do something every day where he's wearing a suit. That resonated with me. I looked up to my older brother. I really did. And when he said that, I'm like, wow, wear a suit every day? that was my goal. That was my goal, to do something where I'm wearing a suit every day. So me as a kid, that was my goal. And it never stopped. So once I got to that point where am wearing like a suit or a shirt and tie like on a daily basis, I mean, it just became me or what have you. I mean, people ask me like, man, this is kind of warm out here. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with what you got on or what have you? And believe it or not, I'm just the opposite at this point in my life, because we're talking about like 30 years of dressing the way I dress, where I feel uncomfortable when I don't have on a suit or whatever. I mean, my own wife, if she see me in jeans like once a year, she's like, "Oh my God!" I mean, she's celebrating because she don't see me in jeans very often. So so it's very normal for me as far as suit and tie. I mean, I feel weird without the way I dress. If I have something lighter on or whatever, I feel weird. I feel out of place. It's just the opposite. But again, I appreciate the question.
All right. Well, with the next question, it's a question that many people are asking.
Sure.
So, what are your thoughts on today's mortgage rates?
Huh. Yeah, this is a very good question. So like when I meet with especially buyers, I have a presentation where again I make it an informative presentation, and on one of the slides that I have, they have a 50-year history of where mortgage rates have lied or where they were over the last 50 years, and to no surprise to me, it's surprise to my buyers, like like mortgage rates, has typically been between 4 and 7%. It was like in 1980, it was high at 17%. So as far as the way the mortgage rates are right now, They typically always been that way. History shows that. So 5 years ago, we had a historic pandemic that transpired. So of course you got the government want the economy to still look strong, the American economy looks strong and everything. So of course they can manipulate the system in a sense. So yeah, we was having mortgage rates between 2 and 3% during that time frame. So unfortunately, individuals of the mindset that yeah, I'm waiting till the mortgage rates get between 2 and 3% again. I mean, okay, I guess we're waiting on the next pandemic to transpire because that's how it came about. Because, of course, I'm not a lender. I'm not a lender, but just speaking on a professional note, as far as the perspective of a licensed real estate agent, um, until the next pandemic happens, because it's what every 100 years that they say that this happens. As far as having a pandemic, I mean, it's not going to happen. So it's not sustainable for the market for those mortgage rates to be that low. It's not sustainable. So whether it's between 4 and 7% over the last 50 years, that's typically what it's been. So yeah, I get clients, well, mortgage rates are very high right now. I get that, but yeah, that's the answer that question. So again, I appreciate the question.
All right. And yes, Realtor Terrence, one thing I've noticed is that people often come into real estate with certain expectations or assumptions that don't always that doesn't always line up with reality.
Sure.
So with that in mind, what do you think buyers and sellers misunderstood most about real estate process?
Okay. Long question. However, I have a simple response. And in reality, they look at a real estate agent as a facilitator, not as an expert with real estate. So in most cases, I don't have clients asking me questions or looking to be advised. They feel they already know. I watch HGTV. I've done through this process before, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as what's been missed, and let me put this in perspective, because the reason why this perception is out there is not that it's not that is true, but unfortunately, the millions of real estate agents that we have out there, they don't carry the same opinions and the same practices that I do. As far as our values. So yeah, I'm looking to provide information to my clients. So again, so they can make the best decision. Most real estate agents don't have that philosophy where they are looking to facilitate the process. So that's where buyer and seller, it's their responsibility to find out what type of agent they're dealing with, and how they see things as far as their selection, as far as that licensed professional. So if they choose someone with my philosophy or what have you, they're going to get the best bang for their buck. I'm dead serious, with that. So as far as work on the buyer side, okay, I can provide information. I can talk about, radon, and radon is a real thing. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer. The problem with it, you can't see it, smell it, and all of that. So when it comes down to inspection period, they got the information to request a radon testing on a property. The vast majority of agents, they don't talk about a new build. Why? Because me going through the trainings and talking to various agents and agents that have practiced for 30 plus years, the vast majority of them basically say, I'm not talking about a new build because I got to wait on my commissions. And that's just highlight a degree of ignorance on their part. So any big time builder, it's not about building from the ground up as far as the only option. They have what they call spec inventory market homes. So these are homes that's brand new homes that's all already done, or maybe 90 or 60 or 30 days out from being done. And then with this, the big thing about it is you have the builder who's, some of these builders, like, no, I'm not going to say any names, but they worth 30s of $30 billion net worth and all of that. So you got the builder is willing to buy down the rates, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate in regards to a buyer. So right now, the 30-year fixed mortgage is like maybe a 6.73. So we got builders buying down a 30-year fix down to like a 4.5 or 5. I mean, seriously, think about that. So that's decreasing the monthly payments, hundreds of dollars per month, where, again, it's the best interest for the buyer, So yeah, I mean, that piece of information, getting a brand new home, nobody ever lived there, where your mortgage rate or your monthly mortgage is about the same as a pre-existing home that's 30, 20 years old with a lot of issues with it. Where you're paying about the same, because, I've read recent studies where, currently nationwide, on average, a brand new home right now is just $14,000 more than a pre-existing home. So when you throw in the perks that a new builder / preferred lender, or maybe their own lender has, again, you're paying the same monthly payment or even less in some scenarios as far as a brand new home. So okay, so as far as serving the client, they like, wow, if they knew about that, but no. You got a vast majority of agents, it's not part of their conversation. They not providing the needed information there. So they often run it on the pre-existing home because they weren't about, getting paid ASAP and all that. And it's just a bad deal. Again, it's about the client doing their homework on a real estate agent, because the real estate agent can provide information, again, where it's they're in a better way, in a sense, as far as moving forward with the purchase of the home, or even of selling of the home, in various ways. So again, Rhea, I appreciate the question.
Okay, sure. And as many know, buying a home is often the most expensive purchase of their lifetime. So
Sure.
from your perspective, what advice can you give to someone buying a home for the first time?
Okay. Yeah, this is a simple response. And, I mean, I know a lot. It's like, okay, let me find a lender. Let me get pre-approval letter. Those are great. But the advice that I would give a home buyer, not only a first-time home buyer, is meet with an agent that's going to serve you the best. And the reason being, with this meeting, as far as I've already articulated, they should be providing information to you. So from that information, you can make decisions as far as the next move. I mean, really, the next move is maybe you're meeting with a sales consultant as far as a new builder or what have you, where they walk you through the process, because that made sense to the buyer. Or as far as the pre-existing, okay, connecting with the lender that's going to provide good information to them. So at the end of the day, they getting the best desired results. So again, to answer your question, really, is meeting with the agent, so that agent can provide information. That should be the absolute first step in regards to a buyer.
Right. And how about selling a home?
Selling a home?
Yeah.
Okay, same question.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, meet with the agent, a good agent. Why? Because, I mean, you got individuals out there doing things to their home where it doesn't increase the value. It doesn't even help maintain the existing value.
Yeah.
So if you get a real estate agent involved, they walk through your home, they should be recommending. And let me say, I'm not going to say experienced real estate agent, because that's misleading. Why it's misleading? Because you got real estate agents walking around here that have been in the industry as a licensed agent, been licensed for 15, 20, 30 years. And they got about 15, 20 transactions in a whole entire career. I mean, yeah, they got the years in, but as far as the work, the repetition, or what have you. No, they don't have that in there. So really, you want to dig in as far as an agent's experience, and probably the best way to kind of determine that is how many transactions throughout their career they've been involved with. That so that's a question that needs to be put out there. So
Okay.
hopefully I was able to answer the question.
Absolutely. Yes. And there are millions of real estate agents out there nationwide.
Yeah.
So, what can a client expect from you if they choose if they choose you to represent them in a real estate transaction, whether on a seller or the buyer side?
Okay. Well, they can expect transparency from me. I'm going to be truly honest with them as far as I'm going to I'm put information out there. I'm going to make recommendations. I'm going to be there on time. So it's going to be I'm going to over communicate, with my client. So they're not going to be sitting there wondering what's going on or what have you. I'm going to over communicate. And I feel I'm going to put them in the best scenario possible. So that's what they're going to get. They're going to get 110%. They're going to get my attention. They're going to get my expertise. They're going to get my will. They're going to get my reputation, in the industry, because that's important, because it is a question whether, hey, as far as accepting this deal, can that agent get us to the finish line? Of course, I got a history of that. So I'm no, I'm not minimized in the industry at all. I'm highly regarded, highly respected. So that's what they're getting.
Well,
Sure.
last question, Realtor Terrence.
Absolutely.
As of August 2024, many things have changed nationwide when it comes
Sure.
to buying or selling a home. So, in layman's terms, can you explain to us in 60 seconds what are those changes?
Okay. Again, I appreciate the question. It's an in-depth question, and so just to go back into history, as far as the listing agent, somebody want to sell a home, so they would meet with the seller, and that being the agent, and the listing agent would negotiate on both ends. They would negotiate on the seller side and the buyer side. So whatever broker / agent brings us a buyer, okay, they're going to be compensated for that. So that compensation was placed on what we call the MLS, the multi-listing system. And, so it's out there. So before a deal was even sprung or what have you, or talks about it, on the buyer side, they already knew they was going to get paid, with that deal or what have you. And agents were trained to go out these appointments and, talk about, if you want top dollar for your home, as far as commissions, it was interpreted that we was not basically saying commissions was negotiable. I'll just leave it at that. It was interpreted that, the sellers had a feeling that, they had to go with a certain number in regards to commissions paid out, et cetera. So this was going through the courts. You had juries coming back with big numbers. So the MLS and basically the industry had to settle. So with that settlement, basically things changed. So of course, probably the biggest change as far as a buyer and a seller that you will see is documents on the buyer side. Documents has to be signed prior to even showing a home. That's nationwide. Because the listing agent is not able to negotiate for both sides anymore. They is negotiating their side. So as far as on the buyer side, that agent has to be negotiating on their end as far as that. So these documents has to be signed prior to even showing a home on the buyer side. So that's the biggest change, and probably explaining So this going to put some brokers out of business as far as this process. Going to put some real estate agents out of business because you got to have a skill set as an agent now. You got to be able to have information and present it to your potential client and explain it to them in layman's terms. And some people just don't have that skill set, or they're not even willing to develop that skill set. So yeah, that's where we at. So if you're working with an agent, they like, hey, before I show you a home, I need you to sign this or what have you. Hopefully they're presenting something, showing you, what they're signing as far as, what type of service are they going to present to you as far as what they say they're going to do or what have you. So that's what that is about, because at the end of the day, it's not about the seller being involved with helping getting the buyer side paid off. That still can happen, and that's part of the deal. So over here where I work at, we got documentation. It's one of it's 3 ways where the agent / buyer broker can get paid for their services. So really the signature basically states that, at the end of the day, you're responsible as far as on the buyer side. And it's 3 options that's available that a buyer can choose to move forward with making sure their agent is getting paid. That's all. So again, it's a very detailed phenomenon, question, etc. And I appreciate the question.
All right. Sure. Well, Realtor Terrence, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's been a real pleasure hearing your journey and learning more about your perspective on the real estate industry. And I know our audience will walk away with valuable takeaways. And we truly appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you all and all the great things in you, and you'll continue to do in the future. So thank you so much, Realtor Terrence.
Thank you for having me.